Gary is a resilient place. It is a community of people who, against all odds, continue to fight for change and for transformation.
When I think about Gary, Indiana in its prime, it was a city with a vibrant downtown. There were 3 or 4 anchor stores. You could essentially spend your Saturday shopping a 4-block distance on both sides, where there would be a store to meet every one of your needs.
There were plenty of housing opportunities. There were plenty of jobs available. It was a booming community.
Back in the day, it was people everywhere. All of the houses on the block were filled. Everybody knew each other. It was just seemed like on my block, it was just real tight-knit. All families knew each other. We can go to anybody's houses. It was a great time back then.
Gary was known for hardworking people, happy people. Seemed to be a sense of satisfaction in the city. And then it just seemed like the bottom fell out and there was no stop, and there was no stop to it.
At the height of its population, there were 200,000 people who lived here. If you compare that to the 80 to 90,000 that live here now, you see what a devastating impact the decline of steel had, the loss of jobs had.
People just left the city. They left the city, and they left this headache here, to deal with all of the blight. You have 100,000 people leave over the past 15, 20 years. That is a lot of people.
With that reduction in population, we have 6,500 vacant and abandoned structures. And of that number, 5,500 need to be demolished tomorrow.
Like on our own block, there is 1 occupied house on the whole block. The rest of the block that our church sits on are blighted structures. The block behind us, there is 1 occupied house on that block. The rest of the block is blighted.
When I come in at night, I'm watching every which way, because I may have a house next door to me that is abandoned, and I don't know if there's anyone in there or not. So it is frightening.
You've also seen fewer city services because you don't have the tax dollars to support the services that are needed. The reality is that when you lose half of your property tax budget, that really puts you at a tremendous disadvantage. So before the Blight Elimination Program, the prospect of dealing with vacant and abandoned property was hopeless.
The Blight Elimination Program is a game changer for the city of Gary.
With us receiving the $6.6 million from the state, it has helped us tremendously. Versus us being able to do 30 houses. Up to date, with our first 336 properties, we've torn down 260. Without those funds, we wouldn't be able to accomplish that.
I really do believe that Indiana's Blight Elimination Program is successful because of the city of Gary.
Because of the Blight Elimination Program, we were able to really take this down to a science.
The approach for the targeted areas was to maximize the amount of money that we were receiving. How could we make, and where can we make the biggest impact?
They knew that they were not going to be able to go around and pepper the city with demolitions. That strategy just doesn't work. The strategy that they used was to know that if they focused in on one specific area and they were able to address that issue in that area, that it provided the greatest opportunity for revitalization. Another way that we're removing blight is, along with demolition, is the deconstruction process. Prior to deconstruction, there will be experts that will go into the home and identify opportunities where we can save the materials. The overall scope is to go in and get salvageable materials and be able to reuse that.
The beauty of deconstruction is that it really reminds you of the strength and of the value of the homes that were built in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s.
And so to preserve that historic culture that Gary has had so much of when it was a booming town during the steel industry is, I think, another best practices that all communities should strive for. The blight elimination program's minimum requirement is that the lots become green. Gary recognized that there was another opportunity beyond just greening.
And one of those projects were going into neighborhoods and installing green infrastructure.
The green infrastructure initiative that we're undertaking in the city of Gary is really priceless.
And it started in 2013, installing bioswales, rain gardens, planting trees, native planting type activities.
So by using native thirsty plants, Gary's able to control flood and stormwater runoff so that it doesn't have a negative impact on their aging infrastructure. Gary's community involvement is the cornerstone of the success of their blight elimination program.
We couple city services with neighborhood volunteer efforts so that we can really do what I refer to as a deep cleaning because of years of neglect that are largely budget related.
What we do, I work with 5 of our major departments and we go into the 6 districts within our community for 5 weeks and we clean blight out of those areas.
Not a day passes that I don't encounter or hear about a resident or a group of residents who are giving back.
We are embarking on an urban farm. We have 3 20 by 48 foot hoop houses. They're like greenhouses, but they don't have glass, they have plastic. And it allows us the ability to grow food year round. So we want to teach others how to grow their own food. We sit in the midst of a food desert. What better way to take abandoned structures as they are removed and to place raised beds on them.
The blight elimination program, for me personally, is a healing to a wound. It's a balm, and it brings hope to me. And I'm sure it brings hope to so many other people that, hey, maybe we can get some of this stuff fixed up.
My hope for Gary is that upon completion of Indiana's blight elimination program, that the citizens of Gary and the leadership continue with developing strategies that they know work and being a leader in demonstrating that taking on some very complex issues like vacant and abandoned homes can revitalize their community and make it a great place to call home. There's so much talent in the city of Gary that they can solve this problem.
My hope for the city of Gary is that the people are empowered, because it is people that change communities.
My greatest desire and vision is to have a city where people are proud to raise their families and that we are able to create an environment where people feel safe and they are able to retire and live out their years.
We all have to hope against hope. We have to hope beyond what we see and look to what we think could be, or we believe could be. And if we could work together, maybe we can make some changes.
I hope the city of Gary can be turned around by people bringing back business to our city, because there's not a lot. Let's get some of that population back. When we remove some blight, let's build something up.
You not only remove blight, you begin to start to share light. And that light comes in the form of not just tearing down, but in building up.